Hello everyone, my name is Kushbu and today we are starting with our unit number 1, starting and ending conversations. So let's begin with our very first session. Here I have one quote for you. Practice makes perfect. After a long time of practicing, our work will become natural, skillful, swift and steady. So yes, my friends, after you will do a continuous practice of English conversation, one day you will realize that you are really fluent and accurate English speaker. Moving on, so let's just discuss our objectives of this particular course. So the course is designed to particularly help you out to begin and end conversations appropriately, have a better understanding of etiquette to be followed and expression that is used indeed to be used, monitor your own particular speech and be able to critically evaluate. Next, warm up. So here I have one warm up activity for you all. This, what you need to do is you need to answer these sets of questions, and once you answer them, I will help you out how we are critically going to evaluate that whether or not we still need to work on our conversations skills or not. So whether we need to work on it, yes or no. So here I'm giving you a little time to just go through these questions and have a particular answers. Okay, so if your answer has been yes for all the 4 questions, then this lesson will especially help you to open up and become more social. So best of luck. Now, this is our very first activity in which you would be addressing particular reading comprehension. That the topic of this comprehension is etiquette. Now you might be wondering what is etiquette? Etiquettes होते क्या हैं? तो etiquettes जो है एक particular social norms के sets हैं, कुछ rules हैं जिन्हें हम follow करते हैं particular behavior को दिखाने के लिए, एक appropriate behavior को दिखाने के लिए. जब हम बच्चे होते थे तो हमें पर्टिकुलरली हमारे पेरेंट्स ये बोलते थे प्लीज व्हेन यू गो आउटसाइड यू हैव टू बिहेव इन एटिकेट्स, तो आपको एटिकेट्स में बिहेव करना है. तो दिस इज द सेम थिंग. आप एक सेट ऑफ रूल्स कस्टम्स को लेके चलते हैं. यू बिहेव, इफ यू बिहेव पोलाइटली तो उसको हम बोलते हैं पोलाइट बिहेवियर में एटिकेटली किसी से बात कर रहे हैं. तो दिस इज व्हाट एटिकेट इज. सो दे आर रियली एसेंशियल जब आप एक कन्वर्सेशन को स्टार्ट करें और उस कन्वर्सेशन को एंड कर रहे हैं. So politeness, engagement, smooth transition is really very important when you are starting a conversation, and same goes with when you are ending a conversation. So उसमें आपकी clarity, आपका avoidance of awkwardness is really important. So here, don't worry, you will learn what is particularly etiquette is about and how to behave in particular sets of customs and etiquettes to make your conversation more realistic and polite in manner. So here, my friends, I have this reading comprehension on your screen. So please go through it, read it, and then we will follow on and answer certain questions based on this reading comprehension. Please take your time. Let's just move on to our comprehension screen. Yes. To proceed, here is your next slide. This slide will ultimately lead you to some rules of etiquette and introduced how to particularly introduce yourself, and always remember younger person always introduced to an older one. Then table manners. So in a conversation and next part, table manners are really important. You should know how to sit politely on a table, how to use the knife, fork and spoon. So you will get to know about this in this particular paragraph. Moving ahead. So here is your third slide. And now we have the next one. So here is your check your progress one. But before that, I just need to help you out that what all things you might have covered in this particular reading comprehension. So you get to know about introduction, then table manners, how to particularly use a knife, fork, Then you got to know about gifts. So you should never, you should particularly not be too expensive or too personal while gifting something. So you should keep that in mind. There are certain etiquettes which you got to know about. Then acknowledgement before leaving any house. So if there is any guest at your house, so you must know that how to figure out to say bye bye to that guest or leave that particular place. Then courtesy to ladies. So a man should know how to particularly address a lady. So these all things you got to know in this reading comprehension. I hope you understood it well. Now it's time for our question answer round. So here is your check your progress number 1. So let's start. Say whether the following statements are true or false. Reread the passage to correct the false statements. So let's do number 1. Rules of etiquette are all silly. So the answer to this particular question or statement is false, because they are used to remove unpleasantness and they are not silly. Next, a younger person should be introduced to an older person. So what do you think about it? Is it true? Yes, it is true. Number 3, it is rude to send a friend away from the door without introducing him her to your family. So exactly, it is really rude. The statement is true. Why? Because it is really rude. If your friend is out there, you should always introduce your friend to your family. Number 4, it is polite to rest your elbows on the table and eat rapidly in big mouthfuls. Absolutely false. Why? Because it is really impolite to lean on the table, putting your elbows and having a bite in a sudden motion, eaten. It shows that you have eaten before and another is cut. So it is not an appropriate manner. We should not eat big mouthful. Number 5, expensive clothing and can be given to new friends. So what do you think about it? The answer of this particular statement is false. Flowers and chocolates are the proper gift to gift your new friends. Should not gift expensive gifts. Expensive gifts हमें gift नहीं करने चाहिए. Okay. Now let's proceed to our next round. So these are the answers. You can cross check if you missed out somewhere. This is our very next activity. So you need to fill in the blanks choosing appropriate words from the text. So I would request you all to please read the particular passage and write down your answers somewhere in your notebook, and then we will cross check our answers in the end. So I'm giving you the time for the same. Okay, so I guess that time was ample. Now let's just proceed to our answer round. So here let's discuss the answers. Etiquette tells us how to behave in society. If we follow good manners, we will not hurt people's feelings and our interaction will be pleasant and comfortable. Some rules of etiquette become meaningful if we study their origin. So next, let's just continue. For example, shaking hands began when men had to show they were not carrying weapons. Some rules of etiquette are not strictly followed, especially those that deal with what should come here? Courtesy to ladies. However, one like thanking your host and hostess before leaving a party is always followed. So here we have just quickly revised what are etiquettes, all those etiquettes which we discussed in our reading comprehension. I hope was understood. Now let's just, here are the set of answers. You can match your answers in case you missed somewhere. Moving on. So here is our third particular question round. So answer the following briefly. So these are the particular written portions. So what you need to do is you have your notebook with you. You can write down the answers and then we will discuss the answers. So now let's discuss the answers. So the answer for the very first one, how should introductions be carried out? What expression will you use? So what do you think about it? Should always introduce a younger person to an older person. An expression that you are going to use should be Mr. and Miss or Mrs. So this is what you are going to do. Next, list 3 good table manners. So what could be the 3 good table manners which you can use? Come on, think about it. Number 1, use a fork or spoon to carry food to the mouth. Number 2, lay the napkin on the lap. Number 3, one bite should be cut and eaten before another is cut. So these are 3 good table manners which you can follow. There are others as well. So if your answer varies, that is not a problem. Number 3, what gifts are acceptable among newly made friends? Flowers and chocolate. Number 4, what should you do before leaving a party or friend's house? Yes, the answer could be find the host and the hostess and thank them. So this is a particular etiquette which you should always follow if you go somewhere. Please remember to thank the host and the hostess, the party. Number 5, how did the custom of shaking hands started? So do you remember in the reading comprehension you might have addressed this? So long ago, men held out their empty hands to show that they were not holding daggers or weapons. Number 6, why does a man walk on the outside of the sidewalk? So in olden days, roads were not paved and were muddy actually. So by walking on the inside, the woman would stand less chance of being splashed by mud through up carrying by carriages. So this is why man used to walk on the outside of the sidewalks. So I hope this is clear to you. So here are the answers. You can always just match up your answers in the end. Now we have a listening activity. So here I would be giving you some time to just listen to the listening activity and answer the following questions in the end. Please take your time.
So we're going to talk about 7 ways that you can end these conversations politely. And as we talk about the list, I would like to ask yourself, which of these 7 do you feel would be most helpful for you personally? Because if you can pick out just 1 or even 2, that'll make sure you put it into practice that much more. So let's talk about the 7 tips. Number 1, you have to end on your turn. So in a conversation, there's a back and forth dynamic to communication. And when you want to end the conversation, you do it when you're already talking. You can't interrupt the other person because that will not come across as polite. That's an interruption. So you fight for some talking turn, say what you have to say, and then during that talking turn, you signal that you're ending the conversation. You have to end on your turn. All the rest of the tips flow from this concept. Tip number 2, set a time limit. Somewhere in the conversation, you have to indicate how much time you have to talk. You may do it at the very beginning of the conversation and say, hey, it's good to see you, Steve. I've got about 5 minutes to talk. What's up? Or you can do it somewhere in the middle of the conversation. You might say something along the lines of, I have about 1 more minute before I have to go, but let me finish with this thought. And somewhere in there, you're signaling the time, and then they hear, oh, okay, this conversation is going to end. And that's the way normal people do this. They let you know that they have about a certain amount of time, and then they end the conversation. This is going to be familiar to people. The third thing you want to do is like a little secret technique. You pack up your stuff. This is a nonverbal way to show them that you are leaving and moving on to the next thing. So you start putting things in your bag, you get your keys out, you put your coat on. This shows them, oh, something's changing here. Alex is about to leave. So that's a nonverbal signal that shows it's reinforcing the fact that you're leaving verbal. You already said you're going to leave. You about a minute left or so, and you put your stuff on. You're committing to this non-verbally. By the way, these are called leave-taking behaviors. And this is what we all do naturally when we're about to go. And so these cues are really known and powerful to most people. They will pick up on them. The fourth thing you want to do is tell them that you have to go. So you have to use phrases that they're used to hearing, like, I've got to run, I've got to get going. Those are phrases that signal, once again, that you're going to go. A lot of times people even feel like just saying that feels rude, but I assure you, this is just common phrases that wrapped into the other tips, they're going to understand that this means you're going to go. The next tip you want to do is tell them what you're about to do next. And you don't want to be too specific. Keep it nice and concise. But if you say things like, I have a meeting to go to, or I have some projects that I've got to get back on, or I'm a little behind on some work, then they'll know that, oh, he's not just abandoning this conversation because he doesn't like me. He's going because he has something else to do. So that's the next tip. So the tip after that is to use politeness. This is what we do when we like a conversation with someone, when we're happy that we've seen them. We say toward the end of it, "It was really great catching up. I'm so glad I bumped into you. This is a great conversation." Now, of course, you want to be honest, but pick something that is honest and is true to who you are and express that politeness to them, because that shows them a little bit of respect. But also, this is the way we signal that we're wrapping up normally. So again, it'll be familiar to them and it'll set off those cues for them that, oh, I guess we're wrapping up. Like if somebody says, "It was so great catching up with you. I'm so glad I bumped into you." We don't normally say that at the beginning of the conversation. We say it toward the end. And so that'll let them know yet another way that the conversation is ending, by using that politeness. And the last thing you want to do is to apologize and repeat. Now, you want to say, if they're stubborn and they're not breaking off, you want to say, "I'm really sorry, but I do have to get going," or "I apologize, but I've got to go to my meeting now." A lot of times people need that little extra reinforcement toward the end. And by the way, saying you're sorry real quickly or apologize, you don't want to drag it out and make too big a deal of it. But this is the way people talk in a normal kind of polite conversation. They say little phrases like that. It doesn't mean you've actually done something wrong that you need to apologize for. It's just a way, once again, to signal that you're trying to be respectful to that person. Now, let me reassure you that if you do these 7 techniques, or even some of these techniques, you will come across as polite. A lot of times when we're maintaining a boundary, we feel like just maintaining a boundary around our time, around our energy and our focus, that's impolite. But the truth is that only you can maintain your boundaries. Other people are not going to do that for you. And if you're routinely getting painted into a corner in a conversation by somebody, they need a reminder of where that boundary is. And if you do it politely, they should respect it, and their feelings are not going to be hurt if you handle it this way.
Okay, and now let's discuss the next topic: sample of greetings. So these now you would be provided with sample of greetings. So greetings are the very first words, or hi, hello, anything which you particularly use when you start a conversation. जब हम किसी से मिलते हैं तो हम start करते हैं, जो हमारे पहले words होते हैं तो उनको हम greetings बोलते हैं. जब आप किसी को नमस्ते बोलते हैं, hello बोलते हैं, hi बोलते हैं, good morning wish करते हैं, तो all these are greetings. So there are some particular rules which you should particularly keep in mind, that how to start a conversation. It will help you out. So always make people feel comfortable when you are shaking hands or greeting someone. It should not be rude in manner. रूड नहीं होना चाहिए, बहुत पोलाइटली आपको किसी को ग्रीट करना चाहिए. आपके विजिटर्स जो हैं, यू शुड ऑलवेज वेलकम देम एंड एंगेज इन न्यू एनवायरमेंट्स. यू शुड हैव अ हैबिट ऑफ एंगेजिंग इन न्यू एनवायरमेंट्स. कोई आपके घर किसी और एनवायरमेंट या पर्टिकुलर कल्चर से आ रहा है, तो यू शुड नॉट मेक हिम और हर फील कि आप तो डिफरेंट कल्चर से हैं. नो, you should adapt that environment and help them engage in new environment. So there are 3 particular steps which you can follow when you are greeting. सबसे पहले greet करना है. Number 2, आपको अपने आप को introduce करना है. Introduce yourself. Number 3, inquire about well-being, कि वो कैसे हैं, उन particular what is that person doing these days, how is the health of that person. So you can just engage in these kind of greetings. Further, you could use some of these expressions while you are introducing yourself. So here are some samples on the screen. You can have a look at these samples. So number 1, we have informal introduction, and then we have formal introduction. Please have a look at them. So when we are talking about informal one, so informal वाला जो होता है environment, उसमें आप friendly behave करते हैं. Okay, आपको कोई rules या formally behave नहीं करना होता. Number 2, formal introduction में आपको थोड़ा formal होना पड़ता है. It could be to your boss, you are talking to your boss, or in a business meeting, anything. Now, in addition to, here are some more examples. Okay, let's just move ahead. So now we have check your progress 3. Okay, so this is our next activity. What we are going to do here is, you need to read down the short pieces given These are some dialogues जो आपको दिए हुए हैं स्क्रीन पर, और आपको उनको रीड करना है. 3 parameters, 3 questions पर आपको उनको जज करना है और आपको आंसर करना है. Again, you can have your notebook with you. So, number 1 point you need to keep in mind, where is the conversation taking place? Okay. Number 2, what is their relationship? Strangers है, friend है, family है, colleague है, neighbor है. Number 3, underline the words, expression that tell you about their relationship. Okay, so now let's start one by one. हम एक पहले तो try करते हैं, then you can further start with it. Okay, let me do one for you, then you can proceed further. Ramesh Dixit, what a pleasure to see you, Mr. Sharma. How are you keeping? Vikram Sharma, not bad. How are you doing, Mr. Dixit? Okay, now it's time for the answer. So just think about कि कैसी situation है, कहाँ पर हो रही है conversation. Number 1, so it is a formal situation. Yes, ऐसा लग रहा है कि जैसे किसी ऑफिस में या नेबरहुड में कोई बात कर रहे हैं आपस में, फॉर्मल सिचुएशन है. So what is their relationship? Second question, they could be colleagues और या फिर neighbor हो सकते हैं. And then you have to underline expression. So of course neighbors हैं, they do not particularly know each other well. Okay. So I hope I have clarified कि आपको ये question जो है ये particular कैसे solve करना है, कैसे आपको इनको read करना है, और 3 parameters को आपको judge करना है, and you need to tell the answers. So now rest. I'm just providing you with the time कि आप उनको read करें and just mention your answers. Then we will discuss the answers. Okay, now let's I'm just going to tell you the answers. Why? So you can just recheck your answers. Number 2. So number 2, conversation feels as if it is a formal conversation or college के student के बीच में and a visitor. There is a visitor in a college. उनके बीच में conversation हो रही है. Now number 3, Krishna Kumar, Mr. Peter Walsh. How do you do? I am Krishna Kumar, personnel officer. Welcome to BHEL. Peter Walsh, thank you, Mr. Kumar. How do you do? So now, what do you think? This is a formal conversation. Office में हो रही है, कोई new colleague है और एक visitor है, उसके बीच में the conversation is taking place. Okay, so now rest. We have 4 more left. So I am just showing you the answer list. So here is the answer key for the questions. You can just rematch your answers. Okay, but pehle you have to try on your own and then you can rematch the answers. Okay, directly answers पे jump नहीं करना है. That will lead to less productive answers. Now coming to the next one. So here we are going to do particular writing short responses. The heading of this one is writing short responses. तो जब हम कन्वर्सेशन को स्टार्ट करते हैं किसी स्ट्रेंजर के साथ तो थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट टास्क हो जाता है. तो अब हम प्रैक्टिस करेंगे ऐसी सिचुएशंस की, कोई सडन सिचुएशन आ गई है जहां पे आपको कन्वर्सेशन को बिगिन करना है, तो उससे आपकी और ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस होगी एंड यू विल पर्टिकुलरली बिकम मोर फ्लुएंट एंड एक्यूरेट व्हाइल जनरेटिंग शॉर्ट रिस्पॉन्सेस. So here is our check your progress 4. So think of a comment. Number 1, think of a comment you could make in the following situations. It need not be more than a sentence. So आपको सिर्फ sentence एक sentence जितने ही answers देने हैं, ज़्यादा बड़े answers नहीं हम expect करेंगे. Okay, let's just start one by one. First, so first situation is you are waiting on a platform at the railway station. A foreigner who is also waiting says, "It's a nice day, isn't it?" What would you say? तो आपको क्या लगता है, आपका क्या reply होगा? Take your time and then I will share the answer. Okay, so yes, your answer could be yes, it's a rather pleasant, isn't it? So this could be your answer. Number 2, you are traveling on the train to a conference in Jaipur. You notice that the man sitting opposite you is also traveling to Jaipur and probably staying at the same guest house as you and attending the same conference. Speak to him. So now you need to answer. How you need to reply. You need to start the conversation, not reply, sorry, but you need to generate the conversation. So how will you do that? So you can start. I have noticed that you are going to the circuit house. Would you be attending the conference on nuclear disarmament? So this is how you can start the conversation. I hope you are getting whatever I'm trying to say. Next. So the next one says, The presentation of one of the speakers at the conference was very interesting. You want to tell her about it, and you will find yourself standing next to her during the tea break. What would you say? So, how will you generate the conversation here? So, you can start like, "Hello, I must say I enjoyed your talk very much. What I found particularly interesting was that whatever blanks you want to fill, you can just speak to that person about those interesting parts." Coming to the next one, you sit down at the conference dinner next to someone you don't know. Start a conversation. So you can start like, "Hello, I am Khushbu Nagar." Like, I'm giving you my example. "Hello, I am Khushbu Nagar. It was a very interesting session, wasn't it?" Then the conversation will ultimately begin. Last one, you are at a movie theater. You recognize the man sitting in front of you, but cannot remember where you met him. Speak to him. So you can start something like, "Excuse me, haven't we met before? Was it at the conference on the nuclear disarmament?" So this is how you, if you're clueless, you can just start your conversation like this in case. So now, moreover, we have these are the list of answers you can rectify. Now we have another activity for you. So here you need to reply to the different remarks in sentences. It is a good idea to learn these remarks. So you will learn about remarks, and you may often use them when you are interacting with someone. So please read these dialogues, and then I will share the list of answers where you can just tally your answers. Okay, moving on. So here the set of answers. Please do tally your answers. Now we are on the next topic. The next topic consists of vocabulary. So vocabulary, as we discussed in the introduction as well, is really important, and by learning it, you will get to know about different words. So informal expressions. So vocabulary is basically about informal expressions, and you will also get to know about formal expressions, word which you can use. So here is a matchup for you. What you need to do is you need to match column A with column B. So column A is quite informal and column B is quite formal. So please just have a notebook and just match them up, and then we will discuss the answers. Okay, now let's just discuss the answers. So here are the set of answers. You can just check on your answers and just check where you particularly lagged and practice those impressions in your daily life as well. Moving ahead, so now we have idioms and expressions used in two listening tasks. Okay, column A are idioms, and then we have column B. So please just take your time and just rematch them again so that we can proceed to our answer now. So let's just discuss one or two. So column A, bunk class. What do you think bunk class means? It matches with number E, go away or to avoid your duty or to particularly your responsibility. Then keep away from. So what do we mean by keep away from? Yes, not to go somewhere. Then number 3, seem lost. Seem lost means, what do you think seem lost mean? Yes, go beyond one's usual boundary and activity. Then you have next one, spread wings. So what do we mean by spreading wings? What do you think? So it means, go beyond one's usual boundary is spread wings. And seem lost, I just missed it. Seem lost means appear confused and uncomfortable. Sorry for my mistake here. So number 3 is seem lost, which means appear confused and uncomfortable, which matches with number D. And number 4, if I talk about, so spreading wings means to go beyond one's usual boundary and activity. Next is pot calling the kettle black. So what do you think? Yes, it matches with number C. Find fault with another person when the speaker has the same defect. Finding the fault right here. Number 6, break the ice. So breaking the ice means make people feel comfortable. जैसे मैं एक्टिविटी अगर कोई स्टार्टिंग में आपसे कराती हूँ, आपका इंट्रोडक्शन लेती हूँ, तो दैट इज ब्रेकिंग द आइस, क्रैकिंग जोक्स और शेयरिंग एनीथिंग कि जिससे आप कंफर्टेबल फील करें. Okay, so here are the list of answers. Please check your answers. Now next is number 3. So this is a summary of learning items. दो list में आपको present करी हुई है, and you need to check on and लिस्ट आउट द पर्टिकुलर एक्सप्रेशन जो आप वर्ड एंडिंग में यूज कर सकते हैं. मेक अ नेसेसरी चेंजेस इन वर्ब एंडिंग if required. Take your time, then I will share the answer. Okay, now proceeding. So here the list of answers. Please check it, and then now let's just move and discuss our next particular topic. So our next topic is about farewell and goodbyes. जैसे कि अभी हम इतनी देर से पढ़ रहे थे कि how to start a conversation, how to start a conversation. Starting तो important है ही, लेकिन ending भी बहुत जरूरी है. आप जब किसी चीज को स्टार्ट करें तो मेक श्योर यू आर एंडिंग इट वेल एज वेल. ऐसा ना हो कि यू आर जस्ट स्टार्टिंग इन अ गुड पोलाइट मैनर और एंडिंग बस नॉर्मली रूडली आपने कर दिया. नो, yeah, along with greetings, farewell are also important. So here formal we also encountered कि कैसे हम formally bye करते हैं, goodbye बोलते हैं कि okay, it was nice meeting you, see you again, bye bye. So these are some farewell or goodbye options you can use. Now here we have next activity. तो आपको यहाँ पर भी शॉर्ट डायलॉग्स को रीड करना है पिछली एक्टिविटी की तरह, और 3 पैरामीटर्स को दिमाग में रख के यू हैव टू आंसर. नंबर 1, number 2 and number 3 all written on your screen. Please read them. Now moving on. So here are your conversation. I would request you all to please read them out. उनको अच्छे से रीड करें, समझें कि क्या बोला हुआ है, and then you get to answer of all these 3 parameter or questions asked to you. Here I will share the list of answers in the end. Just first read them out. Okay, now let's just discuss the answers. Okay, I guess I missed it. Yes. So here are the list of answers. So please check your answers and just recorrect if there is any error in the answers. And now let's discuss our grammar portion. So here is our grammar portion. So grammar portion, the grammar we are going to discuss today is the simple present tense and verb to be. तो हियर वर्ब टू बी जो है पर्टिकुलरली सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस की हम बात करेंगे. तो दिस टेंस इज यूज टू, जो सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस है वो यूज होता है पर्टिकुलरली टू टॉक अबाउट थिंग्स दैट आर हैपनिंग राइट नाउ, जो चीजें अभी हो रही हैं या फिर जनरली ट्रू है, ट्रुथ है. ओके, सो दिस इज व्हाट सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस इज अबाउट. और जब हम बात करते हैं टू बी, तो उसका मतलब होता है कि नॉर्मल जब हम चीजों की बात करते हैं तो वी नीड टू पर्टिकुलरली यूज वर्ब्स लाइक इज, एम, आर. So when you talk about, जैसे कि when you talk about yourself, तो आप first person है, तो you will use I am. तो हम वहां पर I am का यूज करते हैं. For example, मैं बहुत खुश हूँ, I am happy. अब जब when you talk about someone, किसी की आप बात कर रहे हैं, it means second person हो जाता है वहां पर, तो आप बात करेंगे you and you will use you are. तो वो भी particularly singular है. Okay, you are and you are my friend, so that is one example. जब हम बात कर रहे हैं व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट समवन और समथिंग एल्स, किसी और की जो वहां पर मौजूद नहीं है वो पर्सन, सो दैट इज थर्ड पर्सन एंड यू विल यूज ही, शी और इट. वहां पर हम ही, शी का यूज करेंगे एंड अगर वो सिंगुलर है. लेकिन अगर प्लूरल है, मतलब एक से ज्यादा है, तो यू विल यूज आर. सो इन दैट केस यू आर गोइंग टू यूज आर. So here just notice the words in the bold like I am, you are, he, she, it is. So either am, are, is, are, all these are verbs to be जो आप एक sentence में use करते हैं. Okay. Now in conversation and in informal writing तो हम contractions का use वहां पर कर सकते हैं. तो आप सोच रहे होंगे कि what are contractions? So contractions जो हैं they are shortened form of two words. two words होते हैं, उनकी shortened form को हम contractions का नाम दे देते हैं. Often created by replacing certain letters with an apostrophe. Apostrophe का sign हम use करते हैं, symbol use करते हैं to make writing and speaking थोड़ी concise हो जाती है और natural. Okay, जैसे कि हम यहाँ देख सकते हैं सेकेंड लाइन में I apostrophe M, then you apostrophe RE. You are को बोलने के लिए you use you apostrophe RE. So all these are examples. So now let's do our particular check your progress 8. So here is your first number 1, insert am is an R in the following sentences. Okay, so let's discuss. He dash late, isn't he? So what should come here? Absolutely, the answer is. Okay, so let's start with first one. Insert am is an R in the following sentences. Number 1, he dash late, isn't it? Isn't he? So here what should come? is. Yes, because he is singular. So with singular we use is. Then we dash very well, thank you. Now, is it singular or plural? We is plural. So we are going to use are. Number 3, Ritu and Rohit dash in Canada. So here again we are going to use are because we are talking about two persons. Next, number 4, I dash extremely happy today. So I am, because I'm talking about myself, right? Number 5, I think you dash really busy today. So what should come here? You. Here you is in case of second person. So third person we are going to use are. Okay. So I hope you understood. Now number 2, write these sentences with contractions. So I request you all to please write your contractions in your notebook, and then you can rematch your answers in the answer slide. Okay, let's just share the answer key. So here is your answer key. Please just check your answers. Okay. Now, let's just proceed to our next slide. So here let's just read the passage given below and underline the verbs in it. So this is for your understanding only. Just read the passage. So once you read it, you will realize that there are certain verbs like read, pass, and finish. So all these kind of words are action words because वो हमें कुछ action बता रहे हैं. Read करना, पढ़ना, लिखना, ये सारी चीजें एक actions हैं. Okay. लेकिन अगर हम दूसरे हाथ पे देखें तो वहीं पर verb like is, okay, is used. So is, are, was, were, all these are static verbs. They are called static verbs. Now you might be wondering, ma'am, what is static verb? So static verb जो है ultimately non action verbs होते हैं. Okay, action verbs अलग हैं और non action verbs को हम नाम दे देते हैं static verbs का. So these they are the category of verbs जो describe करते हैं एक state को, एक condition को, situation को, rather than an action or event. Okay, these verbs often refer to feelings, आपकी feelings, thoughts, senses, इन सब के बारे में बात करते हैं. So static verbs का हमें याद रखना है, they do not express an action. Okay, rather they progresses over time. Okay, so for example, be like verbs to be reused like am, is, are, were. For example, she is happy. Okay, next seem भी एक particularly static verb है, like it seems complicated. So there are many more. So this is what we learned about static verbs. I hope the concept is clear. Turning your attention to progress number 9. Okay, so I would request you to please read and notice the subjects and their verbs. Then I will share the answer key with you all. Okay, here is your answer key. So I would request you to please check your answers. Okay, here is our next concept. Now let's discuss what is subject verb concord. So देखो आप confuse नहीं होना यहाँ पे, क्योंकि subject verb concord जो है ultimately इसका एक नाम होता है subject verb agreement. Okay, so you will notice कि simple present forms में हम subject verb agreement की कई बार गलतियां कर देते हैं, ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है. So it is a grammatical rule that governs the relationship between subject and verb in a sentence. Okay, in English, the subject and the verb in a sentence, they must agree in terms of number and person. So this means that if the subject is singular, तो कई बार हम मिस्टेक कर देते हैं कि वर्ब हम जो है पर्टिकुलरली सिंगुलर नहीं लेते, प्लूरल ले लेते हैं. तो ऐसे नहीं करना है. ओके, दिस पर्टिकुलरली यहाँ पर अगर आपका सब्जेक्ट सिंगुलर है तो द वर्ब मस्ट ऑल्सो बी सिंगुलर. Okay, the verb must also be singular, and if the subject is plural, तो फिर verb भी plural ही होगा. Okay, there are certain examples on your screen. मैं भी एक example आपको quote करके बताती हूँ. Like for example, she runs. Singular subject है she with singular verb runs. Okay, singular में हमेशा verb के पीछे s लगेगा. Okay, runs, sings, she sings, she runs, she writes. Okay, now let's take example of plural. They run. Plural subject है they with plural verb run. Okay, moving ahead. Now here is set of another activity. So complete the passage below using the correct form of verb to be. अभी तक I guess you must have understood कि क्या होता है verb to be. Please now just use your skills and write the answers, and then we will discuss the answers. Okay, let's just discuss the answers. So there are people who ask me whether I am the same man that I was in 1920, or whether there has been any change in me. Now, you are right in asking that question. Let me, however, hasten to assure that I am the same Gandhi as I was in 1920. Okay, so now for the same passage goes on. So these are the answer for the particular passage. Okay, next, number 3. Select the correct alternatives and complete the passage given below. So please just fill in the answers and then I will share the answer key with you. Okay, here is the answer list. Please just rematch your answer in case you just missed out somewhere. And now here we are going to learn about pronunciation. Okay, in order to ensure that you are speaking it right, practice these greetings and introduction. Let me just pronunciate them for you. A, how are you? B, very well, thank you. And you? So you need to focus, particularly just stress on and you. Number 2, A, pleased to meet you. B, pleased to meet you too. Okay, so here we are emphasizing on two because we are replying, right? Number 3, how do you do? B, how do you do? Number 4, please call me Anju. B, then you must call me Rahul. Number 5, how is life? B, not too bad, but rather busy. So this is how we particularly pronounce it. Now it's time to sum up for today's class. So I hope now you got to know what is the meaning of etiquette, how to particularly start a conversation, how to end it. We even learned about vocabulary, formal and informal. While reading the passages, we got to know how to start a conversation and end the conversation. So this is what we have learned in our today's session. So hope to see you all in next class. Thank you. Bye bye.